all doing well. Another beautiful day out here in Western Queensland. Welcome to another episode of Stingbark podcasting. Sorry it's been a while. I've had a little bit going on work, and as you can see I've got a bit of a different background and a bit of a different area. I've been doing a bit of works at home, so it's a bit of a mayhem at the moment, but hey, it's not too bad. I've even got my little logo in the background, so hey, look at us now. So yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope you've been well. I hope you all had a great Easter. And yeah, back into it. And it's getting a bit dry at the moment, so we're due for a bit of rain. We're overdue. So hopefully we're going to get some soon, because my backyard looks bloody dry as a chip at the moment. So anyway, so fingers crossed. I know our farmers they always love a bit of rain. So yeah, hopefully it brings us all a bit of joy soon. So like I said, it is getting dry, so it'd be good to see some soon. Yeah, I just thought I'd have a bit of a yarn today about a few things in Australia, and then we'll get into a bit of Iran, USA news, if that's all right. So yeah, Ben Smith, what a bad bit of timing this is. The witch hunt continues. Bloody hell, the poor fella, isn't he going through it? You know what I mean? Like, so first of all, we shouldn't even be talking about this. The sheer fact that his face is splattered all over the mainstream media news all around the world now as well. Every podcaster you name about it is talking about him. They shouldn't be. If anything, you want to come out and say anything, it should be unknown, and you should not be showing his identity, especially now before he hasn't even been to court. So anyway, and it's everywhere. So this is definitely, something's going on here. Anyway, you know, it's just weird timing with everything going on at the moment in Australia and around the world. You know, yeah, the poor fella might have got up to a bit of mischief and done some bit of shady shit. You know, but he doesn't deserve to have his face splattered around the mainstream media, and then people like myself do a podcast and talk about him, and, you know, kind of stuck in the middle a little bit here, because, you know, he's an Australian and he's gone over and defended our country. You know, him doing that, taking the oath to fight and defend our nation, knew what he was going into. Our government, politicians and high-ranking military officials have sent him into this position as well. Now, he's not just a normal infantry fighter, he's of the high elite. He's you know, SASR. You know, he's like a high-performing athlete. Like an A-grade student plus 10, you know, he's top of the class. So anyway, and the size of the bloke, far out, he stands out. Apparently the Muslims and the Taliban gave him a nickname, same as they did the American Chris Kyle, I think it was, Kyle, the American SAS soldier as well, that went over to war, and apparently the Taliban even gave him a nickname over there as well in the Middle East. Same as Chris Kyle, I think it was, or something Kyle, I'm pretty sure it was Chris Kyle, the you know, the American Sniper movie. Same thing, you know, one of the best at his art, and done all his tour of duty, suffered a bit of post-traumatic stress and a few other demons. Come back and got taken out by someone who was jealous of him, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, moral of the story, I hope that it's kind of something not like that, where his, you know, teammates or, you know, fellow commandos kind of all ganged up and dobbed in on him. I don't know, I'm not going to talk bad about him, because it's not my place. I feel bad even just talking about it, you know what I mean? So once again, I don't believe it should be spread around the mainstream media, and the sheer fact it is it's a bit upsetting. So, you know, and you only need to Google or ChatGPT what he's done. It's all out there. I've done a few videos. I'm not going to go into it. So from now on, I hope to see the schmear campaign from the mainstream media and fellow podcasters stop. And let's just see it run its due course. Let's have respect for him and his family. Obviously, the people that he did this to has nothing to do with Australia. I don't even think they really spoke English. You know, they're over in the Middle East. Apparently, now I don't know, but there's a story that I did hear, and I have heard of it before, is that a person will go in and they'll be treated as like an insurgent or an agent for the Taliban, because they are Middle Eastern, so they can speak the language, they know the area, and they know the ins and outs of the organisation of the Taliban, whatever. So apparently he was one of them, but he was a Taliban set up agent sleeper cell that ended up killing, I think, 3 Australians and Americans as well. I'm not sure how many Americans, but definitely killed 3 Australians. So there's a name for that now, I've forgotten, but it's kind of like you've infiltrated the enemy under false pretenses, and now you've turned around and shot and killed these Australian defence soldiers, when they were sleeping or when they were in a vulnerable state, weaponless, in plain clothes, not even fighting, not even at the front line, not even having a gun on them. You've snaked them. So there's a whole little thing about it. I remember hearing it. So anyway, apparently a couple of these people might have been those sleeper agents that Ben Roberts-Smith apparently killed. So yeah, obviously innocent until proven guilty, and I do wish him and his family all the best. And being a Christian and having certain values, if they were prisoners and they weren't of that ilk of being an insurgent and trying to kill the Australians, kill the Allies, kill the good guys, and they were unarmed and they were mistreated, and it is what it is to what they're trying to tell you on Google, then unfortunately it just kind of has to be held to account, but not just him. Obviously it's not just him doing all that, so obviously if you're holding one to them standards, you have to hold everyone to them standards. So we'll keep an eye on that and we'll see what happens. Apparently Andrew Hastie from the Liberal Party has also come out and said something, because apparently he was in the same area, or I even heard he was on the same channel. He actually heard Ben Roberts-Smith talk. So there's a quote that I put in the other video. So yeah, anyway, we'll keep an eye on that and we'll see how it goes. Just a bit of news in Queensland here about all the oil drilling that David Crisafulli and the Liberal government's been going around. They were out here the other day, even yesterday I think, out in Western Queensland near the Taroom oil shelf. It's I think it's about an hour and a half west of Warwick, maybe slightly north. It's quite a big area. Apparently it's the size of Singapore. The shelf underground, the oil table. Isn't that a good bit of news and a bit of relief to hear? A politician actually putting Australia's interest first and creating manufacturing and productivity, especially in Queensland, the great state of Queensland. And like I've been saying for a while, David Chris is doing a good job, and when you kind of see that he's been saying no to the net zero, he's been saying no to the UN, like he's kind of the boss of Queensland, and and he's got Queenslanders' best interests at heart. I like to take it that it's true, but at the end of the day, when you've got politicians like you do in Canberra that I keep sharing, that only want to talk bad of Australia and want to destroy everything, it's just good to hear. It's just a breath of fresh air to hear a politician talk like this. So I'm going to keep talking and putting up videos about David Crisafulli and the Liberal government, especially when they're doing things like other things that he's been doing here in the great state of Queensland. He's been bringing back the steel production industry. He's opened up a factory in the Western Downs around Toowoomba. They're going to be bringing in iron ore from Western Queensland, the Surat Basin, going to be finally producing and having manufacturing of steel. So that's good to hear as well. Another good thing he's doing is Boeing is going to be setting up a factory in and around the same area to start making, I think it was F-35s possibly, and then drones, something to do with the Australian, American, I think an AUKUS deal. I'm saying no to the net zero, like I said. He's bringing back the oil industry, he's expanding the gas land, so more exploration, more gas fields. He's expanding the coal mine. He's not shutting down our refineries or our coal-fired power stations. He's actually even cancelling a few wind farms that I've been seeing, the Stanwell wind farm. So they're all good things, and I'm going to keep talking about it. So good work, David, and the Liberal government. And I hope Albanese is listening. And just say, since the Iran conflict, in the Middle East that they're not for the Australia army going over there, boots on the ground, even just sending support, vehicles, aid, anything that's needed from our allies. It kind of seems that they were against that a few weeks ago at the start of the war, but now they're for apparently what Ben Roberts-Smith had done over in the Middle East. So kind of contradicts yourself a little bit there, because like a few weeks ago you were for Australia having nothing to do with any wars overseas or any foreign conflicts, but this week you're all supporting, like guns are blazing, Ben Roberts-Smith. Now it's good support, that's good to see. So yeah, I don't know what it is, fellas, ladies. So yeah, just let us know which ones you support. You're either for helping our allies and fighting in these foreign conflicts if needed for the greater good, for the protection of our country and their country, because a greater Western power, a greater Western civilization, no countries can band together and beat that. I mean, what I'm going to talk about soon with Iran, everyone's saying that, Iran by itself, a lone country, not gaining up with Russia or China, just by itself, was the world's second largest military superpower, apart from America, obviously. Well, if you've just realised what America's done in the last 6 days, they've only done it with, I think, 18 or 20% of their military force. They literally nearly taken out the whole regime of Iran, the terrorist, everything, military, everything, technology, weapons manufacturing, everything, with 18 or 20% of the mighty USA military. Got to remember that they've got their military scattered around the world. The 6th and 7th Fleet, the 6th Fleet is around the Indo-Pacific, and the 7th Fleet's up in and around Europe and South Africa. So yeah, and then not to mention that they've got to look after their own area as well. So they're secure in Mexico, everything around America, Mexico, Alaska, Russia to a degree, South America. They're all got their military assets deployed around there as well. So that's the side that we want to be on, and I feel that a lot of these Australian, politicians, influencers, not the conservative influencers, but left-leaning influencers, lobbyists, everyone who has worked against Australia or worked with foreign interests for the last however long, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you were trying to destroy that and break that up. Forward, we can't be breaking up our AUKUS alliance or our Five Eyes alliance. So at the end of the day, we can't be breaking up our Western allies and our Western partnership that we've formed for over 150, 180 years, kind of since the founding, definitely of Australia, with the alliance with England, the UK. We can't be breaking that up. The alliance with the Five Eyes, AUKUS, and the other agreements that we've had over the decades. So let's stop that. Let's put that to bed, because that's one viewpoint and one, same as Australia becoming a republic. Well, that's a stupid idea, I believe, because who's going to do it? What, Dictator Albo? Who's going to write the law? What person alive in Australia today would you trust to rewrite the Australian? Pretty much you're rewriting the Australian Constitution to a degree, because the Constitution, I'm pretty sure, is the Westminster, the monarchy system. And if you go republic, then that gets thrown out the window. So who are you going to trust today to rewrite the whole system of Australia? I don't believe it was ever going to happen. It was just to keep their voters happy and just to waste a heap of money and give to someone. Same as the failed voice referendum. But anyway, $500 million wasted. Same as trying to talk to become a republic. All you've done is just create a division and unwanted talking points, and just fucking lefty protesters, just even more fuel and ammunition. So just another thing you can put to bed as well, the voice, the treaties and all that, because no one alive today was ever treated like our Aboriginal brothers and sisters were apparently back in the day. And it happened to many tribes and many cultures and many civilizations over human's history. So it's just another one to add to the book of human civilization. The same as, with our allies with America, unfortunately when you are the superpower of the world, you've got to deal with world issues. And Trump gets information that we do not. It does not leave the padded room. Okay, so America knows things, other countries knows things that those reporters asking questions don't even ask, and then we get the answers. So, the information that they want out gets out, the information that they're not even allowed to share, that when you walk into that padded room in the Pentagon, you have to leave your phone and communication outside, you have to get patted down and walk through bloody buzzers, metal detectors, and what information is said there, you're under oath, and it does not leave that room. That's the information that these countries and leaders are making these decisions on, and we know nothing about it. We're only speculating, and we're only going off what the mainstream media are telling us. Well, they're not going to tell us as truth. So that's where we're kind of here, podcasters like myself and others. So I believe that's why you're giving me the support, so I'm going to keep it going. For the Aussie news today, typical Australia, we've just got the usual stuff going on. It'd be good to see the price of fuel come down, because apparently Australia's got all our stockpiles under control. Apparently we're up to that 30, 28, 32 day buffer that these Muppets like to think that's going to be all good. I reckon you lower the price of fuel right about tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. So all my fellow tradies heading to work can get a bit of a break at the moment, especially our small business owners who use diesel, especially even large business owners that use diesel. Let's give them all a break, because they're hard workers, man, and they get up every day and grind, and they do the right thing, and they keep the economy functioning. So I'd like to see a bit of help for them and my fellow worker as well. Yeah, we'll just flip over to the Iran-USA news at the moment. So apparently Trump said it'll be 5 to 6 weeks war of action, and today is 6 weeks, and apparently Trump ended it. Apparently the deal was signed. Apparently America sent a fleet of B-2 bombers, or B-52, I always get them two mixed up, two different planes. Apparently he sent a fleet of them from America over to the Middle East, Iran. Apparently they travelled all the way over, and they got to about, they were going to land there at 8 o'clock, and they were going to destroy, maximum destruction, back to the Stone Age. You've got to remember that all this is done with 20%, possibly 18% of America's military assets, America's military personnel. So yeah, B-52 bombers, B-2 bombers heading to Iran, 8 p.m. touchdown. But apparently at 3:30 p.m. they got the call to do a U-turn and come back to base, because apparently Iran signed the deal. Apparently Iran has agreed to the 11 of the 15 commands that the USA is making Iran. The Iranians had to hand over all the enriched uranium that they have. Apparently they got about a ton of it, handed over to the Americans. Apparently all the machines and all the apparatuses that they use to make the enriched uranium had to be handed over as well. They had to sign a deal that they'd never enrich uranium ever again, under US supervision of some sort. I believe that satellites are meant to be hovering around their uranium sites, even the ones that have been bombed up, because they're even sussing them out. They're even watching them 24/7, the Iranians, to see if they're going to go back to the places where the bombers dropped it last time, a few months ago. And yeah, to open up the Hormuz Strait and keep it open and stop all the rubbish going around there. I believe that the main reason why, right now, I always heard a lot of different conflict of information as to whether it was shut or whether it was only because of the threat of Iran of blowing up shipments, that those companies didn't have the insurance for the military action to get blown up in a military conflict. So yeah, I don't know, because obviously you don't want to be driving a tanker out of there with fuel or oil or diesel, and then you're going to get blown up, drone strike by the Iranian terrorist regime. They're just a couple of the demands, and Iran said yes. So B-2 bombers chucked a U, we headed back to base camp. So a few people have been saying that, oh yeah, no, bloody Iranian are all right. They're hanging in there. They're tough and all that. They might be tough, but they're pretty much been knocked out. And I'm going to read you why. Iran control structure is gone. Commander-in-Chief, President, previous leadership, all gone. Over 45 of them. Apparently 40 of them or 30 of them were taken out at the Commander-in-Chief's house, private house, a day before or the day of some celebration. So yeah, anyway, agreed to hand over enriched uranium, which we said never enrich uranium again. Stop supporting proxy wars in the Middle East, and let's hope with doing so it's around the world as well, because we know what the terrorist regime of Iran did in Australia, you know, with carrying out possibly the Bondi attacks, with old mate coming back in and out of Indonesia, those two mad hatters down in Melbourne who should be locked. Anyway, we know what should happen to them. So that was one incident. Apparently there was an incident to do with Parliament or a politician's elbows or something. Apparently they tried to assassinate Trump on the attempt number 2 over in America. Apparently they've been carrying out strikes, killing their citizens, protesters in over in the Middle East, and causing other dramas around the world as well. So, you know, you got to come in and sort that out, which is what we're seeing the USA doing, getting rid of the disease that's festering. And now apparently we hear that the Iranian have closed the Hormuz off. They're threatening ships again. So I'll look into that tonight, and I might do a bit of a video up tomorrow, and yeah, we'll have a bit of a yarn about that then. But the other day with the CCP China, because they're struggling at the moment with the Iranian, with the Hormuz and all that, even though that they're letting ships through for their allies, the terrorists, the communists, I think they're struggling a little bit, China as well, because they've been hit other places. But I said last week, or the other episode, it was, so they were taking 7 million barrels a day from the Hormuz Strait straight out of Iran oil wells. So that's crazy, yeah, that's a lot of bloody oil. But it's good to see that the Belt and Road takeover that the CCP China was trying to do with this multipolar world order is hopefully off, because we don't want that in our region, in the Indo-Pacific. You know, we don't need that at all. So, and I think India's going to kind of replace China over time anyway, because China's, yeah, you know what China is. So anyway, I'm going to talk back about the CCP thing that I came across listening to, and I put a little video up with the CIA director. He come out and said that America has military technology that no one knows about. All right, and he briefly spoke on it, but because it's that hush-hush, you can't even talk about it that much. So apparently there was a downed pilot over in the Middle East somewhere with one of these attacks that have been going on, and his aircraft got damaged, and I think he had to eject OCDO, and he couldn't be found for some reason. I don't know why he didn't have a GPS on him, or personal GPS or whatever. But anyway, apparently he was gone missing. Now, I don't know if this story's true, but I'm going to share it because I haven't heard this. The CIA possess capabilities that are very secret, that don't get mentioned very often, and can only be enacted by the president. Asset that they let go or simulated or whatever the fuck, it's called ghost murmur. I'm just going to read this brief description of what ghost murmur is. Uses long-range quantum magnetometry to find electromagnetic fingerprint of human heartbeat paired with AI, satellites, and background noises, obviously of where the person is at the time. Like hearing a voice, a person's voice, a specific person that you're looking for in a stadium full of 100,000 people. So, you know, that's what I mean. The mighty USA, man, bloody hell, they have technology that we don't even know about. This pilot went down and 5 days missing, and they found him. He was a bit battered and bruised and dehydrated, but they found him. And then they came out and said the mottos, and we leave no man left behind. Well, they certainly did not, and they deployed all assets to find their soldiers. So hats off to them. But yeah, imagine the technology that they've got that we don't know about. The other thing that surprised me as well with America and the B-2 bombers, or the B-52 bomber, the one that dropped those fucking knuckle busters, Midnight Hammer, down on in the Iran nuclear facilities. They were made in the 80s, I think. And yes, they've been upgraded like inside with technology and whatever, but the basic skeleton and I'm pretty sure just the basic bones of that aeroplane hasn't been changed, obviously, and they're still considered one of the best bloody things in the sky. So, you know, I hate to see what technology they've got behind the scenes in between that time. And remember that was built in the 80s, nearly bloody 40 something years ago. So yeah, anyway, that's the USA for you, isn't it? Europe's a failing nation as well, like a few Western countries, it's gone to shit. We're so lucky that we're not connected to any other country, and if you want to get here, you literally have to fly here or get your ass into a dinghy and start paddling from some bloody where closest, no, Papua New Guinea or something, New Zealand even. But yeah, so we're lucky, otherwise it could have been a lot worse for us, even though our boat's still letting in around 1,100 immigrants a week, or a day, one of the two, sorry I got that confused. Possibly could be a day, I think it was. Anyway, it's a bloody lot, and it's not helping our country or my fellow Australians at all, this mass immigration rubbish. Apparently he said that he's cutting it, but the numbers coming in, I seen the other day or the other week, it's still around the same. It hasn't cut shit. I don't think they can cut it. USA and this war, and I was thinking about it on the way home from work. Well, what's Trump going around and saying at the moment? He's selling his US gas, US oil, US coal to every country around the world, and they're buying it. So not only are they selling more gas, oil and coal, because they're stopping their green renewable energy, and they're taking advantage, especially in Australia, because we're not. We're still shutting down all our major industries for this green renewable energy, popping up wind farms and solar farms. Trump isn't. He's exporting more minerals and rare earths than ever before, about 5 times the amount as normal, especially because of the Strait of Hormuz being shut as well. He's even sent us a few ships of ready to go, petrol, diesel, ready to go, put straight in your car. He's making more money in his country for GDP. His American businesses, small, medium and large, in all minerals are getting more money. More deals are getting, which is also strengthening the US dollar. So everyone's saying that the dollar's weak. It's been dropping, yeah, because of the war in Iran, but I reckon once that's kind of sorted, which you kind of seen today when it was announced that it's shut, the stocks went up and even crypto went up a little bit. So once it all settles down, I reckon all those assets, crypto, the stocks, S&P 500, American, Australian will all go up. So if you've been buying the dip, good on you. I've bought a little bit of crypto on the dip, but not much. It's a bit hard to spend a lot of money on that nowadays. You just chip away, that's a goal, and don't sell. That's when you lose your money, is when you sell. Just hold on to it, who cares? Go down, if you can buy some more, dollar cost average. If you can't, just hold. HODL. Another thing that I'm seeing as well is, it's always Trump and the, Pete Hegseth and all these and that and whatever, but there's a whole system behind that. There's a whole system that, we probably don't even know the faces of, definitely not even the names, but like a Lockheed battle management system behind the scenes, or AI for these things nowadays overseas. Those wars carrying on like they are. So yeah, look, we don't need to worry at all. The Pentagon, the mighty USA, the CIA, the American military, our allies, America, Australia, England, New Zealand, bloody hell, who else wants to join? All the good country. The real worry and the real issues that we need to be hearing out is hyperinflation in America and food shortages. So, unless you're hearing them, unless you start to hear them, then I believe that it's going to be all right and it should work out. Just got to keep the faith and trust in our Western allies, and it may seem that they don't have our best interests at heart, but I dare say they're greedy buggers and they don't want to lose what the Western civilization has. So they've held on to it, and that's what America's done. Especially they've got the most millionaires and billionaires in the world. All the tech bros, all the big businesses are in America. And if they're anywhere over the seas, they've been bought out by BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard Group, whoever else, Larry, whoever else you want to go on about, and they've been moved over to America anyway. So that's how it is. That's going to be the future. Technology is all coming out of America. Even then, that if it's going to go a cashless society, which I'm pretty, I'm not saying it every day, but every day it's getting like it is, and I'm pretty sure it is. It's going to be controlled the same way, US dollar, but it's going to be a digital one. So, which is, the way that they were going with the multipolar world order, it wasn't going to be that. It's going to be split up to some leaders like the Mark Carneys and the Keir Starmers, even Albo to a degree. it's kind of like their last gasp, you know, because they were working for the Chinese CCP, BRICS, City of London group of crowds, all those crazy people trying to destroy the Western civilization for God knows what. I don't know how you thought you'd get away with it. Truly, I don't know how thought you'd succeed in that. Kind of freaking out a little bit and coming up with their own deals on the side. So I don't know what that's about, but that's not going to help my fellow Australians, and that's not going to help the cause. And I feel if we don't kind of sort that out, and you know, if we don't take more of a lead like America's doing, and you know, stop all this madness and get back to common sense and the greater good for our countries, you know, I don't believe anything's, you know, it's hard to see it changing. So I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, we'll just see how it goes, eh? That's just a bit of a short episode tonight. I'll try and do a podcast over the weekend, but thanks for your support. I appreciate being able to be a voice for my country, my ancestors, my faith, my fellow hard-working, tax-paying citizen as well. And I'm just proud, and I'm thankful that you've been giving me an opportunity to be able to do that. So thank you for the support. Please keep messaging me. Please keep commenting, liking, sharing, telling your mates. And yeah, if you have any ideas on what I should do with the podcast or what I should do with my videos or anything, just send me a message and reach out and have a yarn, and I'd love to hear some feedback, which would be pretty good. So I'm going to do a few more lives through the subscriptions through Facebook, so if you want to jump on them, I don't want to charge anyone money. I'm not here selling coffee mugs and t-shirts like a lot of other podcasters are. I'm not telling you to pay your money over at Patreon and subscribe to whatever, but Facebook are making me make a bare minimum, and it's $1.20, so I think that's a month. I could be wrong. I don't know if it's a week or a month. I think it's a month, but just double check before you have a look and think about it. Otherwise I wouldn't be charging you, and I think I lose 20% of that to Facebook anyway. So it's not about the money. Like I said, it's about being given the opportunity to talk for my country, for my ancestors, for my faith, for my fellow hardworking Australian, and for my kids and my future of our country. Because at the end of the day, we want to leave our nation in a better place than when we had it when we were here. That's the whole goal at the end of the day. So yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for the support, and we'll catch up soon, eh? Hooroo.